One of my favorite surprises that I finally caught up to from last year has been Ambrosia Sky. After previewing it at Summer Game Fest Playdays last year, I knew I was expecting a clever environmental puzzle game. What I didn't expect was one of the more emotionally impactful indie stories that I've played this year thus far. After getting a hands-off look at the upcoming Act 2 update and speaking with the developers in a QA after, what stood out most wasn't a flashy new mechanic or anything like that. It was more about how confident Softrain, the developer, has become in what makes this game work. Act 1 introduces Dahlia as she returned to the colony, cleaning away the fungal infestations while uncovering the memories of the people and places that shaped her life. By the end, it left players with a major emotional kind of cliffhanger surrounding Maeve, and Act 2 promises to finally bring that story to its final conclusion. What grabbed my interest most during this preview, though, wasn't just so much about where the story, the larger plot was going, but it was more so about how the team is thinking about building the world itself and telling a story with the world building and the environment that they've created. Now, in this preview, we had two of the members of the development team that were present. We had the studio head, Joel Burgess. Forgive me if I mispronounced your name, Joel. And we had the narrative director, Kaitlin, Tremblay, both from the Soft Rains development team. And one of the things Joel explained was that when designing a level, they don't begin with necessarily a puzzle in mind. They begin with a question: why does this place exist? And so instead of looking at designing obstacle courses of just insert and plug and play and figure out where how to navigate around it, they're asking, what purpose is this area that we're in this environment? Who lived here? Why is Dahlia here? What is she trying to accomplish? And how can a puzzle naturally emerge from this environment? So the puzzles aren't simply placed into worlds, they grow out of the worlds that they're creating and add to then where Kaitlin kind of comes in of where's the larger narrative direction going with this, and what are you telling with the gameplay? And I thought this was a really great insight on how Soft Rain approached their level design, weaving the world building with the storytelling. That same philosophy carries into Act 2's gameplay in the previews that they showed. There's new fungal strains, weird gravity, a lot of different type of electrical puzzles and exterior traversal. But the goal wasn't to throw mechanics at players for the sake of novelty. The developers said that they wanted the world to feel more alive while encouraging players to rethink how they use Dahlia's existing toolkit. And so something cool here with some of the chance I had to ask some questions after the preview was the team was really mentioning that they felt much more confident designing around the systems they had already established in Act 1, which meant they could really create more layered scenarios while still allowing alternate solutions for players. And then, as a follow-up to that question, one of my other favorite answers was kind of wasn't even going into the gameplay. It was more so how players responded to this game as a whole and what they took in as feedback in any adjustments that they're taking into Act 2. Sometimes there's enough of a window with these games and with further updates that you're like, okay, we can respond to feedback. Do we respond to market trends or anything like that? And the player response was, from what they told us, was a lot more grounded in emotional storytelling and this blend of a hopeful yet melancholy tone that they had. And they really connected with the identity that the game had already established. To which Soft Rain really talked about how that helped validate the direction they were already going in, rather than listening to any kind of market trend that they should steer towards or anything like that. They really doubled down on their core, pillars of what this game identity was and listened to their community. Instead of changing direction, the player feedback really gave them that confidence to lean further into the game's identity and lean harder into those key elements, to crank it up, to dial the curiosity, to dial the world building to a higher degree, and engage with the community that loved it already so much. And so, coming away from this preview, I'd say I was curious about it, but now I'm excited to see what Act 2 has in store, especially with the weird gravity and the traversal and how they're building these gameplay elements into the story. But what it leaves me most is with an optimistic look at seeing what this team is doing. And it's clearly, they clearly understand why players connected with Act 1 in the first place. If Act 1 was about discovering what Ambrosia Sky could be, Act 2 really felt like Soft Rain fully embracing that identity, and that's, I think, my biggest excitement. With Dahlia's story kind of finally reaching its conclusion, I'm really looking forward to seeing how this journey ends when Act 2 launches as a free update for existing players on August 6th of this year. And so, if you enjoyed thoughtful discussions about game design or why games matter, not just what they are, but why they leave an impact, consider subscribing. I'd love to have you along for this journey. I appreciate those of you that have been along with me thus far. I'm excited for this preview. I'm excited to see what's to come in August. But until next time, we'll catch you on the next save point.